In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the Cyclops are described as one of the smallest types of giants, standing only 12 feet tall but with similar strength to the stone giants. There are many different types of Cyclops who have been changed by their surroundings, like the Underdark Cyclops or the Cyclops of the Feywild. All Cyclops have the same distinguishing feature, a single eye in the middle of their faces. The standard Cyclops has an AC of 14 and 138 hit points. They have a standard speed of 30 and have a +6 to strength, a 0 in dex, a +5 to constitution, a -1 in intellect, a -2 to wisdom, and a 0 in charisma. They also have a terrible passive perception of 8, due in part to having only one eye. This also causes them to have poor depth perception, causing disadvantage on attacks against enemies that are over 30 feet away. The Cyclops makes a multi-attack on their turn, swinging their club twice. The club has a +9 to hit and deals 3d8 +6 damage per strike, a total of 9 to 30 damage per hit, or 18 to 60 in all. They can also choose to use the Throw Rock action, which also has a +9 to hit but deals only 4d10 +6 damage, a range of 10 to 46. As a DM, I would use Cyclops as a rampaging creature that strikes out at whomever is dealing it the most damage or causing it the biggest problems. While they're too stupid to know to target healers, they would not be too stupid to realize that the magic man in the back is the one that's constantly setting them on fire. I would have the Cyclops try to use its movement each turn to close the distance with ranged players. If they are in range of melee players and a full movement wouldn't get them in range of a ranged player, I would have them use their 2 attacks on the melee player first, and then have them move closer to the ranged players after. Melee players will have little choice but to follow them to continue combat, forcing more players into melee range, or the 30-foot range of the rock throw attack. I would only use this rock throw if players prove too slippery or fast for the Cyclops to catch, as the damage potential is much lower for this attack. The strategy overall is one of beating players down one by one, prioritizing ranged players and casters that can harry the Cyclops from afar if at all possible. As a note, the poor depth perception trait seems pointless, since the rock throw is only accurate within 30 feet anyway. However, as a DM, you can always have a humanoid creature use a giant bow or ballista or any other heavy ranged weapon that has a base range higher than 30 feet. For the Cyclops, however, these weapons would almost always be at disadvantage, which personally discourages me from giving the Cyclops access to any such weapons. In Greek mythology, the Cyclops are giant one-eyed creatures that pop up in multiple myths. In Hesiod's Theogony, there are 3 Cyclops brothers named Brontes, Steropes, and Arges who forged the god Zeus's thunderbolts. In Mycenae and Tiryns, the walls there were supposedly built by a group of Cyclops, and the most famous instance of a Cyclops is probably Polyphemus, the uncivilized shepherd Cyclops encountered by Odysseus in Homer's Odyssey. Unlike the craftsman in Hesiod's Theogony, Polyphemus is a man-eating son of Poseidon who lives on an island with no care for the gods or modernity, choosing instead to prey upon anyone who lands there. Odysseus and his men are trapped by the Cyclops in his cave, where he begins to eat the men one by one. Odysseus manages to entice the Cyclops with wine, and distracts him in conversation, naming himself Nobody or No Man. As Polyphemus gets drunk, Odysseus takes a wooden stake and stabs him in his single eye, allowing him and his men to escape. As they run to the ship, they hear Polyphemus screaming for his Cyclops brothers to search for the man who has blinded him. His brothers ask him who could have done such a horrible thing, to which he replies, Nobody has done this to me. The other Cyclops chalk this up to madness or an accident and don't search for any invaders, allowing Odysseus and his ships to leave the island. Interestingly enough, there is a proposed origin to the myth of the Cyclops. In 1914, Othenio Abel proposed that fossils and skulls of the Pleistocene dwarf elephant might have been the root of the myth. These animals were commonly found in coastal caves near Italy and Greece, and their skulls contain a massive nasal cavity for their trunk in the center of their faces, which ancient Greeks might have misinterpreted as an eye socket. When comparing the creature to the myth, we find them to be pretty much the same. Unlike many Greek myths ported over to D&D, the Cyclops is a race of creatures in both, rather than a single creature in myth that has been turned into a race in the game. Similar to the myth, there are also a multitude of different Cyclops races dependent on their locations, but all of them are unified by their relatively low intellect and wisdom, and by the single massive eye in the middle of their foreheads. If you enjoyed that video, consider giving it a like and giving me a follow. And for more of my videos, you can find me on Twitch @Moglaroo, YouTube @Moglaroo Streams, and TikTok @Moglaroo Streams as well.